Hey everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel. This is actually my third time recording this voiceover. I keep running out of time. So if I'm going a little fast, it's because apparently I have a lot I want to talk about. And did not realize that when I was cutting down my video. But we are here building a wedding venue here in The Sims. It's in Newcrest. This is definitely going to be my save file, which we'll see if that ever comes out. Who knows? I'm taking forever on it. And also I don't even know if there's a lot of people who want to download it, but if that's something you're interested in, just know I am working on it. I am using the new kind of like configurable columns to kind of make it look a little bit more like how Gothic windows look, which I'm very happy about. I love how this church came out. It's definitely kind of a neo-gothic, Gothic revival, Victorian Art Nouveau kind of feel to it, which Art Nouveau comes at the very end of the Victorian era. And even though these stained glasses aren't super like Gothic or aren't even very church-like, that's fine, because even though I've built this to look like a church, it doesn't have to be a church. Even though I'll call it a church, I don't really think of it really as a church. It's really just like a wedding venue, which in The Sims 4 we don't have wedding venues as a venue type, so it's just a park. So just know park goers might be here if you go to get married, but it is a pretty beautiful lot. I tried to do my best to make it very lush, especially with the garden. Also make the inside very opulent and beautiful. It's really just super 19th century Victorian, definitely in that kind of Gothic revival stage, and I love it. This is one of my favorite builds, I think, definitely as of recent, and I just think also it just looks so cool. It looks so Gothic, and by that I mean like not in the kids who hang out at the mall in all black, but Gothic in like Gothic period. If you don't know, that's one of my favorite periods, as well as the Victorian with the neo-gothic, Gothic revival style. This church kind of wedding venue, I love. Here at the front we have two towers that aren't super symmetrical. They have that kind of asymmetry that's pretty popular in Gothic architecture, but it has also one side has kind of cooler tones when it comes to the stained glass, while one side has much more warmer. Here, there's also a different kind of like roof looking on this side. Like I said, I love how this lot came out, and one thing I'm really proud of it also is that there's 3 different spots you can get married on this lot. In the nave of the church, kind of the main body leading up to the choir, there's like a wedding arch there, so you can get married inside the church, inside the venue. Also on the outside there's a cute little gazebo that has a wedding arch in it, so you can get married there, as well as you can also take photos there if you want to get married inside. As well as around the back there's this garden that once again has an arch, and my idea was, for me personally, maybe my own gameplay, my Sims would get married inside the venue and then go outside, and I could get some cute screenshots of them posing, maybe in the garden or in the gazebo. And that was kind of my idea for this. There's also like an outside eating area, and there is a kitchen, a full kitchen on the 3rd floor that's not super great. It's a full kitchen, but it's kind of sad, because I kind of just stuck it in there, but it felt less important, I guess, if that makes sense. Anyways, so you can hire a caterer. I think personally, for me, if I were ever to do this, I might not hire a caterer, just make my cake and maybe some food, some like party amounts of food, bring it in or something. I don't know. Just because since it's on the 3rd floor, and the caterers don't always bring the food down to like the eating area. They kind of just keep it in the kitchen. That might make it annoying for screenshots in gameplay. I just didn't want to move the kitchen anywhere else, as well as, I don't know, just, it's just one of those things where I just feel like I would bring my own cake to this venue, and I would recommend that to anyone else. But also, there is a full kitchen, so feel free to use it and utilize it. I built it for that reason, because I know there's going to be people who still, no matter what, still prefer to have a caterer, and that's totally fine. I definitely think I might try it with a caterer at one point, just to see how that works out. This lot type also is a park. Oh, I think I just mentioned that earlier, but yeah, it's a lot park, but it's not a park. So just keep that in mind. Because of that, I did have to add one piece of like jungle gym equipment, which I used the one from Romantic Garden Stuff, so it doesn't really look like a garden piece, or look like a piece of like equipment, and I have it hidden in the garden anyways, or not really hidden, it's kind of like shoved there kind of haphazardly, but I was like, well, this looks kind of good, and my idea for that was like, you know, it is what it is. And to be honest, if you wanted to use this lot for anything else, I'm gonna be honest, it's really only usable or playable as a wedding lot. I didn't really put that much other stuff into it. Like if you really want to use this as a park and go here, or if your sim, maybe in your sim story or whatever, they need to go to church or something, you definitely use it for that. But for the most part, like, I didn't really put that many other activities here. There are chess tables, but that's one of the requirements for a park lot, so I guess what it really comes down to is what I need, or just what I need, I don't know. But I'm fine. I personally really just wanted to make a wedding lot, or a wedding venue. I'd seen some other YouTubers that had made lots that are strictly wedding venues, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And I had been thinking for a bit on what to do, and you know, because you know me, I love Victorian, Gothic, neo-gothic, kind of architectural style. So then I was going back and forth for a while, like, oh, what if I make like a Victorian like wedding venue, but then I decided I wanted to do this, because that way also, if you want your Sims to get like married in church, I guess, here you go. Also, for those who like don't want it to be a church, it doesn't have to be a church. There really isn't any official organized religion in The Sims 4 anyways, which I personally am fine with. But because of that, also, I can build something like this and get away with being like, oh, but it's like not a church, because we don't have churches in The Sims 4. So it really is just kind of like a wedding, a cute little wedding venue. I really like how it came out. I think it's super cute. It's very romantic. It has some beautiful lighting and architecture, as well as like the garden out back is super cute. Yeah, I don't know. I just like when I've made something that I'm like actually proud of. Which, I mean, generally speaking, I'm pretty proud of most of the things I built, especially recently. And I also love looking back to see how far I've come. I was looking at some of my older builds, and I was like, wow, I really have improved, which is like really inspiring in some ways. It's good to know that you can keep improving, that you don't just kind of hit a wall. But I don't know, I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. Here, I'm creating this thing that a lot of Gothic churches have, where it has a like aisleway that goes around the main nave, that being like this main long entryway, and usually it has, as you see here, it has columns that go through it and archways, and then the light from the stained glass shines through those, and it creates a very nice atmosphere within the church. It's very beautiful. Here on top I use the pointed arches, because to me, I said in my video reviewing them, they remind me a lot of Gothic arches. So I was so happy I was finally able to get to use them in kind of like a Gothic arch way. But I just love this build to begin with, but also I'm glad I got to use those, as well as especially here, I love what I did with the different arches, and then I end up doing some fluting, which I'll show you in a second. I'm not sure if it has other names in other architectural styles, because I've seen it done in other styles, but I haven't heard them be identified in those styles, so I don't know if it's just something they don't name, but it definitely has a name in Gothic architecture, and you'll see in a second. But essentially what fluting is when you have a column that goes up a wall all the way from top to the ceiling. It usually also attaches to some ribbing on the inside of the ceiling. Ribbing being just kind of like a architectural detail that's purely aesthetic. But what sets it apart from other things is it also follows the archways up, and it kind of connects us to the archways. Here, the way it's set up, it can't really attach to the archways, but it does go right next to them. As you see here, I have the columns going all the way up to the ceiling. The reason for that being, once again, that's how it would go in Gothic architecture, fluting. One thing that it kind of made me realize as I was doing this is we couldn't really do fluting in its complete form, because we don't really have a lot of control over ceilings right now, or I don't know if we ever will in The Sims 4, but in Gothic architecture, it's really the fluting, so goes all the way up to the ceiling and attaches to kind of like ceiling decorations. I don't know, it's just very beautiful if you've ever seen a Gothic church or images of them. But another thing also is, in more traditional Gothic churches, there would be a walkway also up on the second floor of that kind of that wall I built that cuts off the two parts with the walls that have the fluting on it. I didn't do that just solely because I didn't want to cut off more lighting, as well as also it didn't feel important to me, I guess. And the reason it has that is so monks can walk up on the top and bottom floors of that while chanting, as well as young boys that are eunuchs would also stand up there and would stand up in some other awnings and stuff and sing really high pitch, and it would just help create a more heavenly feeling within the church. But since this isn't really a church, it's a wedding venue, this is just very inspired by Gothic churches and cathedrals. I was kind of I don't need all that. Here though, I go in and I end up adding more of these big windows. I just really like how it comes out, and I'm so glad this is something I figured out how to do. I originally, I think, first did it in my build for the Magic HQ, which reminds me, so my Magic HQ I think I have to go back to, because now since we have these configurable columns, these multi-story columns, I think I can go back and make my windows look a lot better, because I think having the column not go all the way up to the top there, but stop kind of near where the top window begins to arch over. It just looks more realistic to how Gothic windows look. Here right now I'm trying to build flying buttresses, which a church this small probably wouldn't need them anyways, but I wanted to see if I could create them or something that looked like them using the new configurable, I keep calling them configurable columns, even though they're more just like sizable columns, multi-story columns. And I'm not super happy with how it came out, but I chose to keep it. If you download this and decide that you hate it, I won't be offended if you knock it down, or I mean get rid of the my fake flying buttresses. But I just wanted to see if I could make something that looks good, and they kind of almost do. The only difference is they don't have the same kind of curvature that it should have, but there really isn't that many items that could work, so kind of had to deal with what I could get, but I'm kind of happy with how they came out. But yeah, but going back to those multi-story windows I have there, the 2-story windows, I do really like how they end up coming out when I definitely have all the columns around it, that kind of helps it make it look more solid and more like one window. That reminds me, in the trailers for Discovery University, they had both rose windows and multi-story windows. From all the videos I've seen of people going over the build and buy mode, it does not look like we got those as items that we can use to build with, which I had a feeling that was probably going to happen, but I'm still pretty upset because a part of me was like, no, they gotta give it to me. But I guess as of right now, I can still do what I want with what I got. I often use the circular windows that we got with Realm of Magic as rose windows, even though they're a lot closer to kind of Victorian Art Nouveau rose windows, which are not at all like traditional rose windows, but you know, they work, they're good enough. And I know there's probably some CC for them, I'm pretty sure. What's his name? Felix Alexander, I think his name is. He creates a lot of Gothic CC, but for me, I just don't really like using a lot of CC, especially when building, because I don't want anyone who's downloading my things off the gallery have to go download CC, because I know not a lot of people like to play with it. I personally have very minimal CC in my game. Every once in a while I go through my mods folder and just delete a lot of it. I just really keep the stuff that, you know, I'm fine with. At this point, I don't even have any like mods really, except for MC Command Center. But yeah, other than that, I don't have any other mods. I personally am not one of those people who needs mods to play the game. I do understand why some people do, and that's because the game is so limited in what it can and can't do, and there are a lot of fun mods out there. Like I used to use the Hold Up mod. I don't really anymore. I used to also use Extreme Violence sometimes, but I'm kind of over it, especially since I don't need it. Like I downloaded both of them for some videos I was doing, but don't really need them, which is fine. But you know, here I'm just finishing up putting some windows on, and I'm going to start putting the stairs in here, as well as once we get back in there, you're going to see me, I'm going to put down a dance floor. I get rid of the dance floor later. I put down a table for the cake. Like I said earlier, even though there is a fully functioning kitchen, you might want to bring your own cake anyways. But you definitely don't have to, because like I said, there's a fully functional kitchen. The only problem is that it's on the 3rd floor. And like the complete 2nd floor is like almost useless. It's just stairs. But to be fair, the way building works in The Sims 4, sometimes you really can't do too much. but it's fine. See there, just plop down the wedding arch, as well as I'm taking these arches from Get Famous, and I'm using them just to add some detail to this build, give it a little bit more interest. And the reason I did that was, I don't know, I just thought it would look nice as well, since I decided not to do north and south rose windows. I was like, I'll just give them a really nice intense arch instead. But yeah, here I'm just pointing out things. I also end up building a shrine that's very similar to like a Marian altar or something, using a lot of stuff from Vampire. So in your mind, it could be, if you want this to be a religious thing, it could be a shrine to vampires, or it could be a shrine to the Virgin Mary. It's really up to you and your interpretation what you want. It could just be a shrine to someone who's passed, really. Generally, just, even though, like for me, I was just like, this isn't really a church, but I was wanting to use a lot of church aesthetics, mostly just because I was thinking how nice some screenshots would look. Here I'm putting in the seating. Like I said, because it goes right down the middle of the hallway, you probably won't be able to get your bride to walk down the center either. However, you can't really do that in The Sims 4 anyway, so it's not something we get to do. But I put these doors on the side there anyways, in case you want your bride and groom to maybe both walk down each side of the aisle and then come together up front, who knows. It's really up to you and what you want to do. I'm slapping down some instruments. I think here comes the dance. I get rid of the dance floor later, just because I don't like how it looks, and I'm like, you know what, I just don't need dancing here anyways. I put some music things outside anyway, so they can dance outside. And I put down these rose petals because I just thought it looked very romantic. But yeah, pretty much also I just go through the whole build and add some furniture and stuff, some like decorative stuff. Here comes the Marian-esque altar I talked about. Like I said, it's really just, I used so much vampire stuff, so it's like, maybe it's a shrine to a vampire, who knows. It's whatever you want it to be. For me, I just thought it was a fun way to reference Marian shrines and altars in existing churches, since I was inspired by Gothic churches for this build. But like I said, if you want your Sims to have a very beautiful place to get married, this is a really, I feel like, not to toot my own horn, but I think this is a great place. I love how it came out, and at least check it out. Check out some of my other builds and some of my other videos here, and I'll see you in the next one.